On May 1st, 1776, the Illuminati was formed in Bavaria, Germany, by Dr. Adam Weishaupt. He worshiped Lucifer, and he worshiped Satan, the devil. This is the organization that began to give rise to world government at that time. By the time an individual member who joined the Illuminati or was brought into it reached the inner circle, they had taken oaths of absolute secrecy and unquestioning obedience. They became very deadly serious. You didn't dare to turn your back upon the Illuminati. It could mean sure death. Only at this stage, when you were on the inner circle, were you finally allowed to understand the ultimate aims of the order. Number one, they wanted to abolish all ordered government all over the world. This explains why in the 19th and 20th centuries there were so many revolutionary wars all over the world. Number two, they wanted to abolish private enterprise. What have they done in every communist country in the world? Private property also. Number three, they wanted to abolish the inheritance to pass down wealth from one generation to another. Number four, they wanted to abolish patriotism in a country so that it would be a global village, as Hillary Clinton has always advocated. Number five, they wanted to abolish all religion all over the world and then unify everyone finally when they came into their kingdom under the worship of Lucifer. Number six, they wanted to abolish the family, marriage, morality, proper education of children, and then finally the creation of a one world government controlled by them. On the 16th of July, 1782, started a 3-series meetings with the Congress of Wilhelmsbad. There became an alliance between the Illuminati, better known as Illuminism, and the highest ranks of Freemasonry. It was sealed into one organization at the very highest level, not at the low levels of Freemasonry. This fact joined together all the leading secret societies of the day. It unified not less than 3 million members all over the world into one organization. The actual effect of this merger on the history of the world has not been understood, and it has not been taught by historians in the classroom. I want to quote now World Revolution by Nesta Webster, page 18. Quote, "What passed at this terrible Congress will never be known to the outside world, for even these men who had been drawn unwittingly into the movement and heard for the first time the real designs of the leaders were under oath to reveal nothing. One honest Freemason, the Comte de Vero, when questioned on the tragic secrets he had brought back with him from the Congress of Wilhelmsbad, he replied, 'I will not confide them to you. I am only to tell you that all this is very much more serious than you think. The conspiracy which has been woven is so well thought out that it will be, so to speak, impossible for the monarchy that was the kings of Europe and the church, meaning the Catholic Church, to escape from it. From that time on," says his biographer M. Costi de Beauregard, "the Comte de Vero could only speak of Freemasonry with horror." End of quote. In 1829, American Illuminists or Illuminati members sponsored a series of lectures in New York by English Illuminati member Frances Wright. She advocated the entire Adam Weishaupt program of her auxiliary of the Order of the Illuminati. It included communism, for the first time brought to the public's attention, and it would be made more acceptable by the label of equal opportunity and equal rights. Has Americans heard these in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right on into the 21st century? It would also be made more palatable to accept communism by saying they were atheist. And they offered the emancipation of women and free love. In other words, no morality, no honor in marriage anymore. Those present at this meeting were informed that the Illuminati intended to unite the nihilist and atheist groups with all the other subversive organizations into an international organization known as communism. This was to be the new destructive force to be used by the Illuminati to foment world revolution, future wars all over the globe to overthrow monarchy and governments. Clinton Roosevelt, a direct ancestor of former President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and also Charles Dana and Horace Greeley were appointed as a committee to raise funds for this new undertaking. Communism was determined to be the mode by which destruction would come to the nations of the world. To prepare them for world government, this started in 1829. That was only 90 years before the Russian Revolution to establish communism in that great empire. In 1830, Adam Weishaupt died at the age of 82. In his place, there was another man appointed in 1834 by the name of Giuseppe Mazzini. But so that people would think Illuminism was dead and the Illuminati had died, he staged a deathbed repentance and rejoined the Catholic Church. But as I mentioned, in 1834, Giuseppe Mazzini, who was a revolutionary Italian leader, was appointed by the Illuminati as director of their revolutionary program around the world. He held that position until he died in 1872. At about this time, an obscure intellectual by the name of Moses Mordecai Marx Levy, alias Karl Marx, joined one of the branch organizations of the Illuminati. But let's go back just for a moment. This now united 3 million member Freemasonic order, initiated before and during the French Revolution Masonic lodges to penetrate education. They were to secularize educational institutions with the elimination of all religious teachings and prayers in the schools in Germany and France and in nations all over the world. It took them 2 centuries, and finally they obtained secularized education in the United States of America. As a direct result, they also created modern biblical criticism, which began in the Grand Orient Masonic lodges on the continent of Europe. According to Orthodox Rabbi Antelman, at the forefront of his biblical criticism were the Grand Orient Frankish Jews in their Philanthropine schools. These were private schools. There were no state schools at that time. But these Reformed Jews were people who were out to destroy Christianity and Judaism both. They did not believe in God at all. They believed that religion was the opiate of the people. About 1848, a 32nd degree Grand Orient Mason, and this is found in Occult Theocracy by Edith Starr Miller, page 270 and 726, carried on the Frankish Reform's subversive work. Marx was profoundly anti-religious, and in fact, he was against all religions. He was famous for having said, and I quote, "Religion is the opiate of the people." That was in Antelman's book, page 17. And in 1844, Karl Marx remarked, quote, "The criticism of religion is the beginning of all criticism," end of quote. That quote was found in Paul Fisher's book, Behind the Lodge Door, page 284. It was Karl Marx, who was born to a Jewish family and whose family converted to Catholicism or Christianity when he was 6 years of age, who wrote a book, A World Without Jews. Karl Marx actually helped to start what is called anti-Semitism in the nations today. According to this Rabbi Marvin Antelman, Marx, who is the so-called father of communism, was paid for his services by the League of the Just, which was known in its country of origin, which was Germany, as the Bund per Gurchen. Antelman claims that the League of the Just is an extension of the Illuminati. Members of the League were all illuminated or worshippers of Lucifer in the Grand Orient Lodge in France. Actually, those who joined the League were the remnants of the old Jacobin clubs who had fled from Germany after the reign of terror ending the French Revolution. So they fled from France into Germany and other countries. The League of the Just was later to become known as the International Communist Party. So this was Karl Marx and his part that he played in it. In 1847, he was hired, as I mentioned, by the League of the Just to write what became known today as the Communist Manifesto. Basically, it was nothing more than a policy statement of which the overall plans for the future were laid out. Marx was of such little importance that for the first 20 years after the publication of the Communist Manifesto, his name was not even appearing in it as its author. He was just a pawn in the game being played by the real power brokers behind the scenes. Those are the very top ranks of Freemasonry, the Illuminati. Honest historians have long recognized that the Communist Manifesto was a plagiarized rehash of the writings of Adam Weishaupt and his disciple Clinton Roosevelt from America. Then the next important personality to emerge on the American scene as a leader in the satanic conspiracy was Albert Pike. He was selected by Giuseppe Mazzini to head their operations in the United States. During the Civil War, Pike was commissioned to form an army of the Indian nations to fight for the South. They were so barbaric that foreign nations threatened to intervene to stop the barbarism. Jefferson Davis was compelled to disband Albert Pike's auxiliary Indian troops. Pike was an avowed worshiper of Satan, the devil, by name. He practiced necromancy and all forms of sorcery. As top Illuminati agents, Giuseppe Mazzini, head of the revolutionary aspect, and Albert Pike, head of the religious aspect, worked in unison. Pike took control of the religious aspect while Mazzini took charge of the revolutionary or the political. When the Grand Orient Lodges in France of Freemasonry became suspect as a result of Mazzini's revolutionary activities in Europe, Mazzini presented a master plan to Albert Pike. Albert Pike at this time had already reached the headship of the ancient and accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry all over the world, the most powerful Mason in the world. In a letter to Albert Pike dated January 22nd, 1870, he wrote, quote, "We must allow all the federations, that means the Masonic lodges, to continue just as they are with their systems, their central authorities, and their different modes of correspondence between the high grades of the same rite, organized as they are at present. But we, the Illuminati, must create a super rite which will remain unknown, to which we will call those Masons of high degree. that we shall select with regard to our brothers in Masonry. These men must be pledges to the strictest secrecy. Through this supreme rite, we will govern all Freemasonry, which will become the international center, the more powerful because the direction will be unknown. And a quote that was found in the book Occult Theocracy by Lady Queenborough, page 208 and 209. So Albert Pike and Giuseppe Mazzini created a super rite that those in the lower rites of Freemasonry, the first, second, and third degree, called the Blue Lodge, don't even know exist. And yet orders are handed down all over the world to all the lodges through which they work. The theological dogma of Albert Pike or his religious beliefs were laid out in the instructions that were issued by him on July 14th, 1889. And they were sent to the 23 supreme councils of the world. Now, these are the highest ranked who were handpicked out of Freemasonry to become Illuminati agents. Here's what he said in summary. We'll tell the rest of the world and those of the lower degrees that we worship a God, but it's a God that one adores without superstition. In other words, Lucifer or Satan. But then he went on to tell the Supreme Grand Instructors General, one over each of the 23 worldwide lodges, that those of the high degrees must maintain the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. But you can tell those of the 32nd, 31st, and on down degrees that we just worship a God. But we ourselves must maintain the pure doctrine of Lucifer. Yes, he says Lucifer is God, and that they worship him. Yes, they believe the pure philosophical religion of those in the higher ranks is the belief in Lucifer. He said that Lucifer is the God of light, not Jesus Christ of the Bible and not God the Father of the Bible. And all this could be found in documents and books from the European continent. Then there was a very remarkable letter that was written on August 15th, 1871, which was on display in the British Museum Library in London, England, until recent years. And Pike gave Mazzini details of the Luciferian plan for world conquest. He had apparently direct communications with Lucifer. In graphic details, he outlined plans for 3 world wars. There would also be many revolutionary wars. Then he stated that in the third of these world wars, we, meaning the Illuminati, the worshippers of Lucifer, would unleash the atheists and the nihilists, in other words, the international communist movement which they formed. And they would create such a formidable social cataclysm that it would bring horror to the nations and show complete savagery by those that were destroying civilization. There would be blood spilt everywhere over the world. This is in the third war, if the first and second were not bad enough. Then he said that those who were Christians would become disillusioned with Christianity, because the people would want to worship someone, but they would be disillusioned with Christianity. So for the first time in human history, the pure doctrine of Lucifer would be brought out into the public. And this would only come after they created the third war between Russia, atheism, and the Western world, the United States of Christianity, to destroy and conquer and eliminate both Christianity and atheism. It would be done at the same time with this third great war. Is the world set up for such a thing? Have we seen international communism being used as a tool of destruction, overthrowing governments all over the world? It's called the red horse of the apocalypse in Revelation chapter 6, the second horse. They have killed mankind and taken peace from the earth. Have we seen World War I and World War II, just like Albert Pike wrote in 1871? We have. And so Lucifer, who Jesus Christ gave authority to rule until he comes to smash his demonic system at the seventh and last trump of a Revelation chapter 11, verse 15 and 18. They will give rise to this system. And so Jesus Christ is giving permission for this world government to rise, but he will take away that permission when he returns to this earth and smashes that system into oblivion. And it will happen at the seventh and last trump.